morning, everybody. I'm Zach Blanchard, and this is Political Brew. Joining us at the table this morning, former House Republican leader Joe Bruno, activist and podcaster Genius Black, and Democratic political strategist Betsy Sweet. Good morning to you all. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
I want to start in Washington, where far-right Republicans are trying to oust the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. The Speaker has been criticized for going ahead with aid for Ukraine in the spending bill just last month. Leading the charge, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, promising to call a vote this week.
I'd like to see Democrats go out and support a Republican speaker and have to go home to their primaries and have to run for Congress again, having supported a Republican speaker, a Christian conservative.
Now, Joe, she's essentially forcing Republicans to choose a side here.
Yeah, it's too bad we all have our fringe people in our parties. I mean, Mike Johnson, when you're the Speaker of the House, you have a job to do, and that is to run the House. He's doing, I think, a fairly good job at it. Bringing Democrats and Republicans together to vote on bills and getting them passed. Every party has its fringes. Republicans have the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and that Matt Gaetz group out there, and it's not a good look for the party.
Betsy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing is how divided the Republican Party is, and the fact that they just ousted one speaker, and now they have another one that is on the table. I think that they just can't figure out what their message is, how they want to do things, what it is that they want to concentrate on, and it goes all over the place. And I think, so I think it's indicative of how split and in trouble the Republican Party is.
I would actually have to agree with that. I really feel like, for me, it was interesting to see Marjorie Taylor Greene say that Democrats would be really upset with yeah. or people that were voting would be upset with actually working with Republicans. And I think that everyone is not as resigned to this horrific division as they might think. So I think actually that there might be some voters that see that it's quite a great thing that people are coming across the line. So I don't buy into that rhetoric and that kind of negativity myself.
Meantime, the GOP is looking to take back power in Augusta. The annual convention wrapped up last weekend. Among the major topics, crime, parents' rights, and the border. Senate Minority Leader Lisa Keim even saying Republicans need to win back women and, quote, non-political voters. Betsy, are Republicans right that they need those women voters?
Yeah, I think they are right that they need those voters and the unenrolled voters. They're going about it in the most bizarre way I've ever seen, taking away women's rights, going after things, school boards where people want to do things locally. I mean, for years, the Republicans were, Joe, this is part of you, years saying local control in our schools. Now they have a platform that says you can't teach this, you can't talk about gender identity, you can't talk about anything. So it's like a complete switch from, it belongs in the local towns to belonging in the states. So yeah, they need those voters. They're not going to get them.
Genius, which of these issues really matters the most to everyday folks, though?
I really think that across America, as well as in Maine, the abortion issue is super high level, and I think that it's something that could end up really hurting Donald Trump's campaign, Republicans in general. I don't think this is a moot issue or things that don't incite a lot of passion. It does, and it's important. So I think that's one of the top issues.
Joe, do Republicans have to go there?
Look, Republicans always stood for economic freedom, capitalism. That's what we were known for. That's our roots. That's what we should get back to. And there are a lot of female voters who support capitalism and want businesses and expanding workforces. When we get involved in social issues, like Betsy mentioned, we fail at it. Yeah, we fail at it because we're not mainstream with the rest of this state or parts of the country. Yeah. So we need to, as Republicans, get back to the economic issues. We will succeed at that message. We will not succeed at social issue messaging.
Now, we talked a little about abortion there. It seems likely it is going to be a key issue among voters this election year. While in Florida this week, a ban on abortions after 6 weeks took effect, and in Arizona, the Senate repealed the state's near total abortion ban. Genius, is this really going to be that issue for Democrats? You kind of hinted at that already.
I definitely think that it is. I think I even remember hearing Donald Trump say that what happened out in Arizona was too far, it was too much. And I'm starting to think that was like an overplay to then get people to be happy when they pull back. So I think there's a lot of maneuvering going around, but I want to harken back to really for what you just said. That's just not the issue that I think is going to be great for Republicans, but I think Democrats are going to start to point out how wrong, how laws have been changed, how rights have been taken away. So that's well,
and I think one of the things that's so important that I think the Republicans haven't figured out is I think they look at abortion as a political issue, as a political football. For women, This is visceral. This is about the sovereignty over our own bodies. If we don't have that, we actually don't care about what kind of money we're making or the economy. This is like so very fundamental, and I think that's the thing that the Republicans have failed to understand.
The question becomes, how often can Democrats run on abortion as an issue, as they have done over the last 2 election cycles? But people are looking, who voted on the abortion issue in 2020, and looking at Joe Biden and saying, what a failure this guy is. And now, am I going to vote just solely on that issue? I think there's a changing tide out there that says, while abortion is important to me, there are other issues that are more important to me now.
Well, and it's a question why Republicans keep going there.
Right.
I mean, they're the ones who keep bringing it up, keep eroding the rights. So it's like, it just seems like if it is a political issue, it's a bizarre political strategy.
But it's gone back to the states, and each state has their own mind to make up about what they want to do with abortion, which is what the Supreme Court decision was really about. It was never about taking away abortion rights. It was like, it goes back to the states, and every state can decide what they want to do.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. And finally, former President Donald Trump's criminal trial in court continued this week. The judge holding Trump in contempt for violating his gag order for posting disparaging remarks on social media about his hush money case involving porn star Stormy Daniels. Betsy, we've talked a lot about this and how it doesn't seem to impact Trump's base, but how might this have an impact on him once a ruling is made?
I think that's starting to shift a little bit. It's true that he has been like the Teflon guy, right? Nothing sticks to him. But I think people are kind of both getting tired of having one indictment after the other, but also tired of his antics, like in court. Like, well, I think people do sort of respect the court, and like you're supposed to act a certain way when you're in court or not, and the fact that he just constantly, time after time, goes against what the court says, goes against what the judge says. I think people are starting to say, oh man, this guy, we're kind of done with this guy. It's not huge. There's still a huge following, let me say, but I feel like there's a little erosion happening, and I think it should be like a boulder.
But Joe, the former president still has a lot of support among
Sure he does. And a lot of America knows that these are sham charges. Like, he shouldn't be in court right now, okay? This whole thing, he never hurt anybody, so to bring these charges against him is trivial, to be honest with you. And America is waking up to the fact that they're just going after him because they don't like Donald Trump. And there's a lot of America that doesn't like Donald Trump, but he still has a pretty strong following out there right now.
Yeah, Genius, do you think that most people see it as trivial?
Most people, no. I do think that there is many Americans who feel that politics has a lot to do with why these legal things are being kind of lobbed at the former president. So I hear that, but I also think that many Americans have had grave concern about Donald Trump's integrity, adherence to the law, care for the law, care for women, care for many people. And so I think that if he's found guilty, because a lot of the public can see the evidence, I think it will actually harm him over time if he's found guilty in certain key trials. Again, the whole trial, one of the trials he's in right now has to do with if he was forthright and honest about what was happening with funds for the campaign and money. I don't even call it the hush trial anymore. I call it like kind of a truth trial. And I think that if he fails there, I think people will recognize who he is a bit more.
But there's also a lot of people who feel the same way about Joe Biden and everything that has gone on with Hunter and everything, the whole family business thing. I mean, so it goes both ways. There's not a whole lot of trust in each candidate out there right now.
All right, we're going to leave it there and take a quick break. The Weekend Morning Report is back right after this. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zach Blanchard, and this is Political Brew. Joining us at the table this morning, former House Republican leader Joe Bruno, activist and podcaster Genius Black, and Democratic political strategist Betsy Sweet. Good morning to you. Thanks for staying with us.
Good morning. Yes. Absolutely.
First, a prominent gun rights organization, the Maine Sportsmen's Alliance, says it's planning to sue the state over a new law that establishes a 72-hour waiting period for all gun sales. It comes after this week Governor Mills announced she wouldn't sign that bill or veto it, but allow it to become law without her signature. The governor says she hopes the law can be implemented to prevent suicides without infringing on the rights of responsible gun owners. But gun advocates disagree.
It is statewide. It impacts potential victims of crime. It impacts our economy. There are outfits like Kittery Trading Post, Old Town Trading Post, that will be severely impacted. Might as well say we'll never have another gun show in Maine.
Now, it's unclear when exactly the Sportsmen's Alliance plans to bring this to court, but Betsy, I know you've been advocating on this issue a lot in Augusta. Was this expected?
We were very pleased. I think it was touch and go about whether she would let it go into law or not. So we're very, very pleased. This is huge for suicides, for mental health. And I think it's fascinating the Sportsmen's Alliance is going to sue, because their other option is to do a people's veto, right? Go out, collect signatures, get everyone and do a people's veto. It's happened many times in state government. They're not doing that because they know that people, the vast majority of people, support this 72-hour waiting period and support most gun safety legislation. So they're going the court route. And so I think it's fascinating that they're going to do that. And I don't think they're going to win.
Joe, the governor did veto a bill that included a ban on bump stocks and tried to walk a line with this waiting period with her explanation. Is there middle ground here?
Look, I hate when governors allow laws to happen without their signature. To me, as a governor, you're the leader of the state. Take a stand, veto it or sign it, one or the other. Don't let it become law without your signature, because that just shirks your duty as the governor. Now, I don't know what the case is going to be from the Sportsmen's Alliance. What grounds are they suing on? I have questions on that. But to me, every study out there shows that a 72-hour waiting period does very little to prevent suicide in this
not
country.
true, Joe.
It is true.
No,
I looked it up this morning,
it
Betty.
is
I went
not.
to every
Well-
study out there and read it, and it says the effect is minimal or moderate at most.
No, in Connecticut, it was a 14% reduction. And honestly, if we
Well-
prevent one child from going out and getting a gun,
that's
right?
a typical liberal line. If we could say one person, well, great, but the fact of the matter is you are going to hurt many honest sportsmen out there who buy guns and keep them and hunt with them and do whatever they want. But to go to 72 hours, you are inconveniencing a lot of people, and a lot of people will not buy a gun if they have to come back 3 days later to pick one
And
up.
Genius, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is all in response to the deadly Lewiston shootings as well. I think there obviously is this suicide part that's important, but where this all comes from.
Yeah, I mean, inconvenience for me is not a strong argument. I just got to say that.
I'm with you.
Because there's lives. Like, we're not just talking about hunting, we're talking about other things that people do with guns. So for me, what was telling about the clip is that it was very dramatic, and every example was negative. When people talk to me in a way where I feel like they can't even perceive a potential positive outcome, it really makes me question where they're coming from. So I have to agree. I wonder what that lawsuit's going to be about. I feel like it might not be about that much.
All right. Lawmakers will be heading back to Augusta this week to possibly override vetoes and handle some unfinished business, including spending bills. But this is already causing some frustration. Governor Mills' office urging Democratic leaders to only focus on veto overrides. I want to start with those possible overrides. The big one, the bump stocks ban and minimum wage for agricultural workers. Joe, do you expect any of these to really get those 2/3?
No. The Republicans will vote on it as a block on all these, and there's no way they're going to bring enough people over the override.
Yeah, and Betsy, the other issue here is whether lawmakers can or should even pass these additional bills instead of just focusing on the veto day.
Yeah, I think that, I think that's sort of internal baseball, but the truth of the matter is that there are over 200 bills that have not yet been acted on, waiting to be funded. There's $11 million available for that funding, addressing some serious needs, mental health needs, a bunch of family planning needs. There's a bunch of stuff that's there. So I think that, to have some arbitrary thing and say, oh no, we're not going to do it this way. Well, it's been done before, and is it great? Do we wish it had been done earlier? Yes, but it wasn't. And so, because there were a lot of big issues on the table, and so yeah, let's let them go finish their work. And everyone's editorialized in that way.
Genius?
Yeah, I don't. There's some bills that I want to see readdressed and some things to happen, but I don't know that they're going to make a big difference. Just based on my research and just thinking about what they'll have time to be able to do. There's some things that I would like to see, but I guess I don't know how effective that session will be.
Well, if they do go and pass any bill, there's a good chance the governor's going to veto those. So either you come back for another veto day or you're there all day doing vetoes
Never
all
mind
day
the fact
long.
if the AG gets involved in all of that inside baseball stuff, right?
The inside baseball.
It's
That's
all
what-
inside baseball.
Now to the big national headlines surrounding pro-Palestinian demonstrations on college campuses across the country this week. Police called in to a number of institutions to break up encampments and arrest hundreds of protesters. Some argue the demonstrators calling for the institutions to divest from Israel have gone too far and are even anti-Semitic. Here's what Senator Angus King had to say about the issue this week.
Anti-Semitism has been a plague on this earth for a long time, and it has no place in our society. You can differ about policies, but you don't convert it to condemning any race or creed, whether it's Jews or Palestinians or whoever.
Genius, is Senator King right here?
He is right. There is no place for anti-Semitism, although it has been in America for a long time. But I will say that I've been doing research, going online, looking around, and one of the things I'll note is that whenever I look at, let's say, conservative-leaning news outlets, all the protesters are considered anti-Israel. This is the language all the time. Hamas is mentioned, degradation, things being chaotic. These are all the words. These are all words that matter a lot to conservatives. But what I find is that in other outlets, the language is different. It's more pro-Palestine. People are worried about something that looks like a genocide. I think Americans are being pushed to think in extremes, but I happen to know that there are many Jewish students inside many of these encampments, and so I refuse to believe that the only energy there to protect Palestinian life is based in anti-Semitism. I don't buy that.
Well, they're all flying the Palestinian flag. They're all wearing headbands that have the Palestinian flag on them. It's pretty much a pro-Palestinian, they're protesting for Palestinians. Now, Hamas has not even started negotiating about releasing hostages. To say they're the ones who started this, let's not forget that. They're the ones who attacked Israel and killed thousands of people and grabbed hundreds of hostages. What they're doing on these college campuses is completely wrong. America does not like what is going on those campuses. If I was a parent of a child going to school there, paying $70,000 a year and watching this happen and saying my son or daughter cannot go to school there because of these protests, I'd be really upset. And I think America is very upset.
But Betsy, demonstrations on college campuses have been happening for
a
decades.
very long time. I mean, I'm a child of the 60s, so what I think is really the saddest thing here is we're not talking about what they're demonstrating against. Yes. So let's have those news cameras, instead of telling us to look at the kids at Columbia or Bates or wherever they are, let's look at what's happening. Those hostages are still being held. There are 30,000 people dead in Gaza. There are children emaciated from hunger. Turn your cameras there. This is a right of free speech, is what they do. It's young people. This is a total distraction from what is actually happening, and it's a shame.
But that free speech has gone on to ruining college campuses, leaving garbage everywhere, beating up Jewish students. That's not free speach.
Well,
that's terrorism.
Well, as you said, there's fringes on both sides. I mean, we're seeing it on both sides, and I think that what's put out in the media is the most dramatic stuff. And I think what you said, Genius, is really true. Most of the people there, if you look at the list of demands, it's about economic influence, it's about having justice, it's about stopping a genocide, it's about releasing the hostages, it's about all of those things. But those things aren't picked up and put out on the news media because it's not good news.
All right, we're going to leave it there and wrap things up with winners, losers. Joe, you remember this? We'll start with you.
The winner is Julia Gagnon from American Idol.
Yes.
I mean, she's in the top 7 now on American Idol. I know it's on another station, and I apologize.
That's all right. We're supporting her.
But she's a Mainer, and Maine is very excited about her talent.
Yeah, that is
Loser?
very awesome.
Loser, protesters on college campuses.
Genius.
Hold on one second. Come back to me.
All
One
right,
second.
Betsy.
So my winner of the week is actually thousands and thousands of Mainers who have worked tirelessly for years, but especially in these last 6 months, to get a 72-hour waiting period. I mean, that did not happen just with the legislators. That happened because thousands of people came forward and told their story and did work and wrote letters and did all that. So they're my winners of the week. And my loser of the week, I guess, goes back to what I was just talking about, which is I think it's the national media focusing everything on the wrong issue, so gets our focus off of what's actually happening and the devastation and genocide we're going to look back on and say, oh my God, this is awful, and instead we're going to worry about kids doing what kids do on a college campus.
Genius.
Yeah, I have to say, for me, my winner is going to be, let's say, Mainers in the future that are safer than they are now. And I think that the 72-hour wait really matters. I know before we were talking about background checks, and I know people hate that, but like I said before, you're going to have people, any actions towards making things safer around guns, you're going to have people who instantly and completely say, no, no, no. I'm not with that, and I think that we're moving towards more safety. So the winners are the safer American people.
All right. That's going to do it for this week's Political Brew. Thanks all for being here. Remember, you can watch anytime online or on New CENTER Maine Plus. The Morning Report is back right after this.